loud enough, we will have some. Can you hear it?
I'm sorry I couldn't be there for this meeting in person, but I'm so glad that I get the chance to say a few words about what I learned from young people that were many of my teachers, and specifically what I learned around how to create ecosystems where they thrive, and where they thrive as social entrepreneurs, aware of Agenda 2020 and issues related to it. So I have 3 points I'd like to share with you.
Some people are saying they cannot hear it, so we will close it here, and you are kindly invited to exactly. We will put it on our homepage, and you can then watch it there, and we better use our time for our last presentation and then for the interactive part.
Well, thank you, and I hope as part of my project, the first Women's Summit, we will be able to empower women in technology so that we can have a group of young girls during their holiday that will be helping at the UN to set all the technical aspects so that we can have smoother representation and smoother events. So what is the first Women's Summit? It's a project that I started with my business partner, Patrice Bizio, who is not here today, unfortunately. So it's really, this whole project is about leaving a legacy. There are many summit, conferences, events about gender equality, so SDG number 5, and especially about women empowerment. However, there are no follow-up after those events, so it's a nice gathering most of the time where people that share similar ideas gather and meet, but there are no real concrete action taken, or at least if there are, they are not mediatized enough. So what we are trying to do is to gather women which have been successful in life. So what do I mean? Women which are diplomats, business owners, CEO of corporation, or who have made a difference in their environment, and also who are head of institution, to be meeting with the youth, with the young girls. So that's why I'm here today with Andrea Chavez from the Young Women Leadership School of Astoria, which is not only a school, but rather it's a network of schools which empower young girls in life. So through that initiative, as I said, it will be for those leading ladies to meet the youth and define topics. First to discuss topics, and then to define 5 topics which are going to be tackled in the next 5 years. So 1 topic for each year. And not only to tackle them from here, from New York, from the headquarters, but also to tackle it in the ground. So we're going to travel with that topic in 4 different locations every year. And we have predefined with Andrea over the past couple of weeks the first 3 topics. So the first one would be empowering women through technology, and that's why she's here today. She's going to tell us more about the work she's doing with these young girls at her school, and how we, Patrice and I, have interacted with them through some project of theirs. The second topic would be empowering women through entrepreneurship, and that's where my work is related to Mr. Paul Zero work, which is his project, the Glocha Sustainable Energy Entrepreneurship Program. And finally, the third topic, which we have predefined so far, is empowering women through media and news. So this being said, many people have asked me why me, why a man fighting for gender equality, fighting for women empowerment. Well, the story is extremely personal. It's related to my roots. So I was born in France, but my father is Egyptian, and my mother is Algerian, from the Berber region of Algeria, Kabylie. And I was raised by my grandmother because my parents were working really hard to give us certain standards of life to my sister and I. So my grandmother is really a person I look up at. She is the one that gave me the value I have today, and she's a woman that through the 89 years she has been living, and I hope many more to come, she has been fighting against many injustices. The first one being the fact that she were married to my grandfather more or less without her consent, so it's more or less than more. And on top of that, my grandfather just took her away from her region, her native region of Kabylie, and took her to France. And since then, she never got to see her parents. And I think that's very cruel, but that's, I guess, cultural aspect, education in some part of the world that lead to that situation. On top of that, he was extremely violent to her on a daily basis. My grandmother had to raise 12 children, I repeat, 12 children on her own, and not only to raise them by taking care, by giving them love, but also financially. My grandfather wouldn't give her anything. On top of that, he had another family. I mean, there are many, many factors that she had to fight for and she had to go through, that for me, to be here today and to fight for the women's cause and to fight for the other gender is, I believe, something completely natural. And I do it for two reasons. The first one, because I want to put into light my grandmother's story, because she is such an humble person, and up until then, since my grandfather passed away, she has never been remarried or seen anyone. She has always that respect for him, which I don't know really how, but she does. And I really want the world. So the second reason, I really want the world to be less and less subject to persons like my grandfather. I want less and less women to go through what my grandmother went through, and that's the main reason. These are the two main reasons I am doing this project. I am raising all the funds on my own for it, and that is it. I'm sorry I got a bit emotional and a bit intense, but it's something extremely important to me. So I would like to let Mrs. Andrea Chavez talk about the wonderful job she's doing at her school and how we are going to collaborate in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for inviting me here today. I am a teacher. I was just a Spanish teacher just a couple of years ago.
Can you speak to the mic?
Sure.
Maybe speak just a little slower.
Sure. Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you.
So I am a teacher at the Young Women's Leadership School of Astoria, but I belong to the network, the Young Women's Leadership Network. We have 5 schools in New York, others in other states, and they happen to be all girls schools, but they are public schools, and we had very high poverty in our schools. And the way that we tackle these problems is by infusing innovation inside of our schools, especially technology. For example, I was just a Spanish teacher a few years ago, and I became a technology teacher just to be the model that the women needs today. Because just like I don't know, I am not a computer scientist, I am not a programmer, but I became one just to show the girls that they could do it themselves. And through this work, we have been able to create apps that for carbon footprints. We have been able to create full video games on recycling. We have created also a video game on how to eat healthy. We have also bring it to a live show, an eco-friendly fashion show, where technology opens up the show, where Patrice Visiot, he has contributed to the show to empower of women. We do have our own media channel the youth media channel, and they do cover all the events. A lot of them are in technology. And this year I was nominated by the White House as a computer science innovator. And it is because technology could bring so many opportunities, and I have taught these girls that they could do anything with technology. Another piece of technology, like everybody, like what we like, I don't know if everybody is aware of here, we call it STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. But to create more opportunities for youth and for the girls, I call it STEAM, which is something now that is infusing everywhere, which is the arts are inside there. And this year what I did is observe which girls were the ones that were participating the less, and it happens to be the ones that are most in the arts. So we gathered up like a group of dancers, and with a group of dancers, 50 girls right now are creating a digital dance, which is it has been like a work of like 1 year. We are going to be presenting it soon in 3 weeks, and it has all the technology inside. We created little robots, we coded spheros, we created the skirts with floras and Arduinos, and the floras are coded to the movement. We created some boxes that are coded to the sound of the music. We created backgrounds that are graphic design, have filmmaking, film effects, and the dancers help all to these. And we had no experience on any of these. So we started in September, and we started researching, and just with people around, we just started just asking who could help us, and that's like how we could, like we have done it here today. I think it is an important issue. I am going to White House in 2 weeks to keep talking about computer science for all, and in this event that we are creating, we think that it is very important. All these three things: technology and innovation, and my contribute was to like create inside of this a hackathon. So how we could create positive things, to like just like positive opportunities to create like a bigger impact.
Thank you very much. Well, I would like to thank you all for being here with us today. Thank you very much, Mira, for
Discuss now. We will have another 10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. All right. Well, then now the floor is open to questions or comments. Anyone? Yes. Yes, please, Mrs. Lazaro.
Last week we were with Rachel Kite, who's the CEO of the Sustainable Energy Forum and Special Representative of the Secretary General. And I just want to say, it's not all bleak. When Rachel came in, she told us all on a panel that there is a lot happening outside of this complex that is really putting, metals, whatever, to the pedal, whatever the terminology is. It's really happening. In the islands, there are so many technology, energy people making it happen, working with governments. So if you're all in here and you want to get involved, get going. Just get going. Come on, we want to work with you. We want to support you. There are entrepreneurs coming around here who want to support new innovative technologies. If you have something, or if you think you have partners, or you have an idea, and by the way, science and arts are always very closely associated. I know Gloria, who's here, she's also a designer. Design is a part of a lot of it. I have a great appreciation for people who are designers of amazing infrastructures that are saving cities from what's the results of climate change. So, it's there. And there are people doing it. It's not all bleak. It's not the end of the world. And one of the people that I talked about last week also was Solar System. They had an idea to take solar to rural areas in Africa, and they were backed. Do you know what W Power is? Check it out. W Power is the U.S. government supporting groups that are wanting to empower 8,000 women entrepreneurs. And let me say this too. Remember, intergenerational, working together, gender equality, it's men and women together. And it's everybody, you know, even if somebody's retired, my God, they can come up with an idea and let's encourage them, let's support them. Everybody has a part to play in this. So it's not bleak, it's doable, and we can get going and make it happen. And don't forget about ANAS Expo 2017. Check that out too. That's in Kazakhstan. That's happening next year. It's happening in June.
It's about the future of
Yeah,
energy.
right?
you know,
Yeah, it's the future of energy, and they're building a whole complex, so it doesn't just happen one time. It's going to be 3 months in the summer next year, June, July, and August. And they're going to have, they want people to come in and work with them, and it's going to be an ongoing development, not just 1 year.
And if I may build on this, the statement of Margot, really, there's really so great potential in this crisis and in this big transformation now towards a low carbon society. And there's really, our formula is globally coordinated local action, because there's really there are wonderful things on the local level, but they need to be connected with a global ecosystem, with a global enabling framework, so that it can be replicated, that it can be nourished and cross-fertilizing. So we aim to build this ecosystem, and we need the creativity, the social energy, and the entrepreneurial spirit of young people to make it happen and really to drive the change. And there are opportunities for everybody in this. This is really high opportunity time now also.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there
Any other questions or comments?
Yes,
Yes,
I'm listening to all of this, and the hundreds of millions of young, brilliant people you're collecting, or older people, or retired people, somehow or other you have to now catalog their real capabilities, or you're going to have all these do-gooders, but how are you going to know who really is capable to execute? I'm listening here, and I'm just thinking what interested me, Gloria, as a person. I found your personal story of you with your partner, who are entrepreneurs or successful, I don't know. Your interesting background from the Arabic world and living in the West, and the cultures and the culture conflicts. And I wanted to tell you that I'm so old that when I first got married at 19, this is America, my father was German, my mother Spanish, I was told, which one of the 5 do you want to marry? Things have changed all over the world, including for your grandmother, or me, who probably could be your grandmother. So we have to now sift out. Sometimes parental advice, believe it or not, can be very helpful. Very helpful. These kids who just go and pick up anyone and shack up and meet this one and that one, and they're on internets and they just grab any other human being. This is a mistake. In some cases, these kids should at least ask their mothers and grandmothers. I'm saying this from a woman's point of view, watching what's going on. So I think the youth have to still cooperate with the wiser, older people in their families, friends of their families, influential people. Now, I heard this young man who's a scientist, and I found what he's saying very important, because the global changes and the changes in climate are affecting the solar industry, all the solar panels. So here I see where a younger person is giving me information I find extremely interesting. Now, I'm not really a designer. I come from a fashion family. I'm a media person. I'm the publisher of newspapers, magazines. I'm a journalist, and I'm the oldest correspondent at the UN, not the most active anymore, but I represent ALAF, which is one of the top Arab wire services. I have my own company, and magazines, which is Society Diplomatic Review. We do special editions on heads of state. And the one thing I find, even with anything you're doing, even when you're building an editorial and publishing business, who can really write? Who can really photograph? There can be hundreds of people out there, capable and anxious, but I need to know which one can really act. So there has to be a way, with all these people you're collecting, is it radical? Is it sensible? Can they really represent my top organization I'm building as a spokesperson and call themselves an ambassador or a mini ambassador? That word is being thrown around. I'm an ambassador of what, 12 years old or 14 years old. Let's really examine, with this important purpose, who is on board, why, and are they capable to do anything? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your comment and feedback. Very much appreciated. And
But I'm really very interested, or I wouldn't be here. I'm one of the busiest people you can ever imagine. I had to leave a staff of 4 sitting around doing nothing to be here. I know the project's important. I know Miroslav is on the right track, but it's unwieldy at this point with hundreds of people involved. You have to start cataloging and qualify who are these people.
thank you. Thank you very much. And just, if I may just add to what I was saying, I would be working with a council of grandmother. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No.
They are very active. So, because I understand that I might not have the wiseness to tackle this topic, so gender equality, without the wiseness of other people like you that would definitely contribute, and we need to be.
Wisdom's important. That's why you have the elders. You have Kofi Annan and all these greats. All of them are in their 80s and above. You need that wisdom. And I appreciate, as a matter of fact, that Miroslav invited me to come. He certainly is aware of my age and who I am and what I am. And I'm still here with this action talking about 15 to 18-year-olds. But I must tell you, these kids have to still respect their elders, and many of them are not. They're just going quiet.
Thank you. This gentleman wanted to ask us.
Yeah, I wanted. Does it work? Okay.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Roland Ramsak from PISA, more specifically in the Department of Administration, Public Administration and Development Management. So my question is about the fact that, the concept that we addressed during the whole forum. The fact that sometimes when it's not, we don't have a really bold and a very inclusive frame to implement all the science, technology, innovation that a lot of brilliant people can find, you have insiders and you have outsiders. You have people left behind. And it's particularly true with the youth. Because in fact, you have the young people that are left behind because of the lack of means, but also because of the lack of infrastructures, of capital. And this is what is mostly the case in countries like in Africa, like you say, Cleopatra. But you have also another problem because you have, so on the first end, just about my first point that I just addressed, that you have a lot of people that didn't have the means, but they are interested in being active in, for instance, the climate change. And the only fact to have these means and to have this opportunity, they will take them. But at the same time, you have a lot of people in the youth that are discouraged by all of that. And I think it's another issue because you have, at the same time, people from developing countries that can be discouraged by the fact that there's no development. So maybe they cannot address the climate change because they are focused on the first time on their own development. And the second thing about the youth in the developed country would be that a lot of them are also outsiders because they are left behind because of the unemployment, because of the fact that, for instance, in the last elections in France in 2015, a lot of them didn't vote, or if they voted, it was a vote of discontent. So it shows that even though if you have the mean and the capital, you're creating, I would say, an atmosphere, some conditions so that people cannot participate in framing and in all the huge movement for science, technology, innovation for climate change. And as the first speaker of the forum said, it was then Dean Kamer. He was citing Roosevelt, saying that you cannot always build the future the future for the youth, but you can build the youth for the future. And in fact, this is the question I want to ask you. Even though if you can bring new people that are willing to do things, what are maybe the guidelines that you wanna have into bringing people that feel discouraged by all of that? Because I think it's a different issue, and if you don't address that, that will be the inequalities that are deeply increasing right now will be at the same stage and will not be solved if the question of discouragement is not solved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to, answer some of your questions, and also which is something that has always been also in my heart, especially in South Africa, in terms of the youth being discouraged, to participate. Most of the youth is being discouraged also because of the lack of access. When you do not have access to financial access, really, therefore you become so discouraged. And you have no idea, you don't know what to do, you don't know who to go, who to contact. I am one of those people who schooled in UK. I went back to South Africa. I did my research back in South Africa on traditional medicine and the natural resources management. So I thought, well, this is a good idea. Let me go back to my country and try and probably help my community, the rural community that I'm from, enlighten them on the issues of climate change, especially the awareness, because of the findings that I got from the research that I did for my dissertations. But when I came there, I was very, positive, motivated, optimistic, young woman as I am. When I got there, I was demotivated. Because why? The lack of access. I do not know anybody who knows anybody, then I can be able to get funding. That was the problem. I have a good concept, I have a good idea, I can move people, but the problem is access. Just because I do not know anybody, it blocked me in a way. Then I got demotivated. I had to seek for employment. But when Miro came with this concept, I said, God, I think you are really repositioning me back to my heart, to something that I really wanted to do. But because I was disadvantaged because of the lack of access. So to answer your question, really, I am a South African youth myself. My friends, most people I grew up with, some really they don't have jobs, and it's demotivating. But with this program, with these projects that we are trying to launch, it will help the youth at least to motivate them. Not only motivate them, but give them the skills. Not only give them the skills, but also capacitate them to take this project and run with it. But not only that, also to enlighten them more about the issues of climate change. You can give me money, you can give me all the equipment, but if I do not know anything about the project, about the program, it will not help me. So therefore, such projects like this are very, very, very important. This is a very good project that also, which is very inclusive. I was talking to Miro saying that we should involve young women, we should involve disabled, we should involve old, because you know, you can find out there is a person who is disabled but very capable. If we can build, as it is also skills transfer, we are hoping to also work with sitters, which are mainly in colleges, technical. They can build, they can be trained on how to make a solar panel or anything like that. You can be disabled, but you are not, you can still be productive. So, I don't know if I'm able to answer.
And to build on what you're saying, I think
That's a very important subject, disabled. That's so big because these people have their brains. You have all these veterans from all of these wars all over the world today. And you're bringing up disabled is key. And you have here in the United Nations a very large agency for that. Daniela Voss heads it, and she's in a wheelchair, and she's one of the top diplomats in the whole building. So the brain is what's so key. That is, they can do anything as long as they don't have to walk with it. So I think you brought up one of the key points of this whole thing.
so. Yeah, yes.
You know, this is really true. And there was actually an expert meeting that was called a couple of months ago. I don't know if anybody was here, he was in it, but they made a point of making sure everybody was invited, including disabled, were able to be a part of it. And, you know, with all that you think that we're doing to really cover all the bases, there was a woman who came from Japan. She was on oxygen, she had a wheelchair, she had 3 interpreters with her. Someone had to interpret the English into Japanese and back to her on her hand. She was blind, and she was in a wheelchair. And you know, with all of that planning, the meeting we were in, there was a platform for all of the speakers. So the speakers went up on the platform, the people that were disabled had to stay down here. So what we did when we were over, and it was actually, even though we were there and we saw it, they brought it to our attention and we said, this has to be in the final notes for this meeting. This cannot happen again. If we're gonna talk it, we need to do it. We need to all be aware of disabled being included in every single thing that we do. They don't have to be here as lawyers and just fighting for us. We have to do it. I do want you to check out W Power. It was funded by the US government, and they started putting women, it was like they were able women for solar lights. They went out into the rural communities all over, getting the light to homes, clinics. Kids were able to do their schoolwork. It was saving lives. They're creating 8,000 new entrepreneurs, and they're going into South Africa. I want you to call there, and I want you to contact Catherine and Mihak, okay? In fact, I'll give you their numbers.
We're very happy you brought this up because it's not just an add-on. It's such a key question today with the autistic children. You have here in the UN the ambassador of one of them, Watkins from Antigua, I believe, is blind. And we also had in America, we had here in New York State, our Governor Patterson was legally blind. So the blind can have very big leadership advantages. And I believe recently, I don't want to say his name, but I met a second ambassador here, powerful from Latin America, and he also is 3/4 blind. So they can be in a very big leadership position, not just being helped that you can do this or that, but go with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, as I was saying, sorry, I think to remind a bit your question was, a lot of youth and young people might feel discouraged to follow their dream, but I think also what would help, and that's included in the First Women's Summit and also in the Glocha Entrepreneurship Program, Energy Sustainable Entrepreneurship Program, is the fact that you have, like they do in the US, in their educational system, you put into value the success story of people, like for instance, put in value Cleopatra's story, as well as along, so to give examples, to set examples. I think that's very important, and I think I don't know if you're French, I'm guessing so. In our educational system, we don't have that. And that's why, like, if someone in France is smarter than other in the classroom, we try to put him down. In France, everyone is trying to, and that's why it's a failing educational system, because we're trying to make everyone in the same, not to try to distinguish one student compared to another, compared to the US where they put one student into value. If he's successful, we really like value him so that other students don't really look up at him. And I think that's also what's missing in the French system, French educational system.
Thank
We
you.
can discuss about it now.
I don't agree with that.
Thank you very much, everybody. I would like to give Mr. Muriel for the voice of thanks.
Thank you, everybody. I think it was a very productive meeting, and thank you for the partnership, for the co-organizers and the moderators. And we are here to stay, so you will hear about these initiatives, not in this room, but about these initiatives at the UN in the next decades, again and again. Thank you. Have a nice day.